It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
Six the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Wednesday. And over the hump we go.
Today's show is sponsored by Sweet and Spicy Toilet Paper. Because life is, you need...
You don't.
Life needs...
Never mind.
Okay, I don't know why you would need this.
But at least since nobody wants it, it is on sale anyway. So, go pick yourself up some. Oh, here we go again. Hang on. There it goes.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave. Now, whatever you think my first story is going to be, you're wrong. Trust me, you're not going to see this coming. But before I get to the first story, just a side note here. I am watching on the ridiculously large television they put in my studio. There's a storm that's about to become a hurricane. It's going to move up through the Gulf of Mexico, scrape up the west coast of Florida, hit up in the Big Bend areas where it's forecast to go. And that's a pretty good forecast because when you take a look at the pressure systems around it, it's got no choice but to go up there. And so, of course, it's being covered like crazy on the news, and that's fine. Just want to get this out of the way. Every time we have a hurricane, somebody that I know who believes in the whole cult of climate change nonsense will turn to me and say, well, climate change. No, it's a hurricane. Hurricanes have been happening for billions of years. This is another one. We will get more. Turning back the dial on the CO2 level is not going to stop them. They happen. This has nothing to do with CO2 or human activity. Happening long before humans ever got here. In fact, this past few hurricane seasons have been relatively quiet. We haven't had very many storms this year. And the ones that we have had have really not been all that big. So, all right, just getting that out of the way. Because I know somebody that I know personally will say that to me at some point today. And I just want to get it out of the way. All right, now, the story that you didn't see coming. We have had a discussion before about what to do about wind turbine blades, right? Somebody came up with a unique solution, which I'm going to pass by you. Now, the problem has been wind turbine blades are made out of fiberglass, but other materials as well, because they want to make them really big and really strong and have them be able to stand up to, even Wyoming's winds. Problem is, when they're done with them, what do they do with them? Because it's very hard to recycle that stuff. For quite some time, they've been just piling up. They even dumped them into some landfills here in Wyoming, up in the Casper area. They're not doing that anymore, but they're trying to figure out what do we do with wind turbine blades. Now, there's other problems, of course, what to do with solar panels, not just wind turbine blades. These things are really bad for the environment to create and very bad for the environment to dispose of. But environmentalists don't like to talk about that. But someone might have come up with an idea of, for future wind turbine blades, what to do. This is from the Guardian newspaper. Wind turbine blades could be recycled into gummy bears. I'm just letting that sink in. Yes, gummy bears, the treats that some people like to eat, which I've tried and I didn't particularly like them, especially because they were gummy. But the next generation of wind turbine blades, the story says, could be recycled into gummy bears. Researchers and I actually watched a video with the researcher who came up with this idea. Researchers at Michigan State University have made a composite resin from the blades by combining glass fibers with a plant-derived polymer and a synthetic one at that. Once the blades have reached the end of their lifespan, the materials can be broken down and recycled to make all sorts of new products, including chewy, sweet treats, among many other things. To combat waste, researchers designed a new form of resin, and you can actually digest it. So when you eat a gummy bear, by the way, it's not bad for you, but it's nothing good for you either. It just passes through. They just put some flavor in it. It also, by the way, is the same kind of resin and materials. When you take a look at the cover of the headlight and taillight of your vehicle, it's made out of the same kind of thing. So they can make gummy bears out of that. Here's a quote. "We recovered food-grade potassium lactate and used it to make gummy bears, which," said the designer, "I ate." The alkaline design also released a polymethyl something or other, a common acrylic material used in windows and car taillights. On eating gummy bears that are derived from wind turbines, the scientist says, and listen carefully, that this is important for those who think that CO2, or carbon for that matter, is a pollutant. A carbon atom derived from a plant like corn or grass is no different from a carbon atom that came from organic fuels. He says fossil fuels. I'm correcting him. It's part of a global carbon cycle, and we've shown that we can go from biomass in the field to a durable plastic material and then back to food. He added, "The beauty of our resin system is that at the end of its use cycle, we can dissolve it and release it from whatever matrix we put it in, and then put it back into some other use, including food. That's the goal of a circular economy," he says. I see. Okay. Well, to me, I look at this and I think, brilliant. Yet another reason to not eat gummy bears. Now, that doesn't have anything to do with current wind turbine blades. This is an idea of what to do with future wind turbine blades. But they just got to find some way to, because the way they currently make them ain't working. People are trying to find all sorts of ideas on what to do with these things, and it just is not working. So make something edible, besides getting gummy bears, to make something edible out of it? Yeah, well, it's one of the possibilities anyway. Now, there's all sorts of other stuff that they can't do with, which is why I say it's still a toxic process to create wind and solar and a toxic process to dispose of it. We're just, in this case, talking about the turbine blades. They still haven't figured out what to do with the rest of it. Chet and Yoder. Let's see, a drone. Oh, okay. I got two people here sending me stories. Morning, Bunny. Okay, I will go ahead. Oh, yeah. Bunny want to know, hey, did Liz Cheney endorse Democrats? Poor dear. Yeah, she did. She actually endorsed Kamala Harris. I know she did.
It's tough getting older. Went into an antique store, they wouldn't let me leave. I just paid off my student loan. I tried using that face aging app. They said, nah, you're good. I'm officially an old man. I told a kid to pull his pants up. His underwear was showing. He mocked me, tried to give me a wedgie. But the joke was on him. I was wearing the pins. I went to the doctor because I thought I had arthritis. I don't. I have early onset rigor mortis. I joined a dating site for people my age called Carbon Dating. I asked a woman on the site for her number. She told me it was 140/95.
So many opinions, we had to build the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app to hold them all. Free download from AM 1030 K2 Radio.
It's the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Wednesday, and over the hump we go. Okay, so the first story I gave you, which I told you you're just not going to see. It's coming completely out of literally left field in this one. But all right, A researcher at the University of Michigan wants to start making wind turbine blades out of a new type of polymer, which is actually very organic in the sense that when we're done with it, we can melt it down and turn it into all sorts of different things, including some food products like gummy bears. So you can actually eat a wind turbine blade if you want to do that. That's not a fake story. Now, every so often I enjoy picking on Wyoming public media, which, by the way, is among all the other public media outlets that I would just defund. If they want to go privatized, fine. But we, the taxpayers, shouldn't be paying for any of this. Here's a headline. The dog had burnt paws, which I really feel bad for the dog. How climate change is impacting reservation dogs. Yeah, you're going to love this. I'm going to get into this later on this morning for people who join us later in the program, but let me just do a warm-up here. The story reads, furry friends on Native American reservations are feeling the heat. Since the COVID-19 pandemic, animal shelters have been at capacity nationwide, but especially on reservations that have underfunded infrastructure. So you see, we need to send them more money, is what they're saying. Not like they should take care of themselves. Now, climate-driven heat waves and wildfires are adding another layer of problems. Wyoming Public Radio's Hannah Murchback sat down with Taylor Stagner, I think is her name, to talk about reservations dogs. A former Wyoming Public Media reporter, she's based in Riverton, and now reports on tribal affairs. So, okay, here's part of the interview here. You recently wrote a story, Reservation Dogs Are Feeling the Heat from Climate Change. Your story focuses on San Carlos Apache Reservation down southeast Arizona. Tell me what you were hearing from people. What did the issue look like? Well, says Taylor, the issue seems, well, particularly dire because they had just gone through this horrible fire earlier in the summer. It was called the Watch Fire, devastating for the community. 20 homes, 2,000 acres, and the person that I found was, well, she's Apache, and she was running around trying to save all these dogs. Okay. The dogs had burnt paws. Well, yeah, a fire went through the area, which, by the way, fires happen. But all right, let's read on. And she was, like, out there rescuing them, and she was out there up until midnight or so. I'm glad she is. She cares about these animals. And they don't have any shelters, so they had to do a makeshift shelter, which is really a rough thing to do. It's a rough thing to do, I get, because it's a dog story. Especially when the world's on fire. Oh, here we go. Especially when the world's on fire. And we're trying to find a safe space to put these animals, and so people are having a hard time finding places to be. So, okay, the animals are forgotten if it weren't for a rescue group, so thank you for the rescue group out there. They recently got approval from their tribal council to build shelters, and that's good to hear. It's definitely not all, but there were a few, and let's see, they're talking about the reservation dogs in the community. I want to get to the climate change part here and see how the pandemic made it worse. What we see on the Wind River Reservation here in Wyoming, a lot of clinics having to spay and neuter pets. Well, that happens when you have a lot of pets that were just sort of turned out. So walk me through this. Do you have a sense of scale of the issue? See, now, if they're having a problem with pets that have been just turned out, that's fine. But where does this have to do? What does this have to do with climate change? Not everybody would talk to me. I called 20 different shelters, she said, and gave a recent number in the shelters and community. About 6.5 million dogs and cats are in shelters all around these tribal communities. They're all at capacity. Okay. But I still failed to see, as I go through the story, why did you have to throw in something about climate change in there? Because I certainly didn't hear it in the interview. All right, so let's go to the actual story that the woman wrote. Reservation dogs are feeling the heat from climate change. Let's see. She goes through a dog named Geronimo. That's a good thing over here. So they watched a fire begin from arson and high temperatures and dry conditions. There we go. They watched a fire because they had hot, dry conditions. They're in Arizona. They're in the desert, and there's hot and dry conditions. Gosh. Driven by climate change. No, driven by Arizona because you live in a desert. And then she goes on to talk about animal shelters and so on, and how they're trying to, once again, save these animals. So basically the story I gave, I don't know why they had to throw the idea of climate change in there. They had a hot, dry summer. Gosh, really, in Arizona? And because of this hot, dry summer in Arizona, there were some fires, which were probably arson, by the way, according to the story. Okay, not a big shock there. Why does she have to throw in that, and they're suffering, it's so hot and dry in the fires because of climate change? You live in Arizona. Of course, you're going to have a lot of hot, dry summers. I don't know. All right. They have to throw that in there, though, don't they? Coming up on 6:30, local news coming your way after local news update on the weather forecast. Then you and I get back into it again. 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97 WOODS. Why do I already feel like it's a Friday? I've had a busy week. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
On Thursday.
Take Glenn anywhere with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on AM 1030 K2 Radio.
.36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Wednesday, and we're riding over the hump. So, okay, when I first got to Cheyenne, Wyoming, some time ago, I started hearing things about a coin shop murder, and I had to go digging into it. Really shocking to the community when a couple of people were found dead inside a coin shop in downtown Cheyenne, Wyoming. Here's the latest, Cowboy State Daily. So the man accused of the murders was arrested, finally, after years of this. Story says California man accused of gunning down two men at a Cheyenne coin shop in 2015 will not face the death penalty. And now is an opportunity to be released from custody pending his trial. But he'll need to pony up a lot of cash to do so. On Monday, the judge set a $500,000 bond for Douglas Mark Smith, 68 years old, who is facing 2 counts of first-degree murder for allegedly killing 2 people in 2015 at the coin shop in downtown Cheyenne. Smith was a Cheyenne resident at the time, is accused of shooting and killing 2 men in the shop, then intentionally leading investigators in the wrong direction immediately afterwards. Smith claims he witnessed the alleged murder, stealing from the coin shop cash drawer after killing the 2 people inside. He has long been a key witness in the case, but wasn't until authorities interviewed Smith again in California in 2023 that serious inconsistencies in his retelling of the event started to emerge. Authorities arrested Smith in June this year at his mobile home in California and had him extradited back to Laramie County, where he had been in custody ever since. So, okay, no death penalty. Now, this opens up the door for some things. According to Cowboy State Daily, earlier this month, Laramie County District Attorney's Office announced it will not seek the death penalty, making the announcement that the state won't seek capital punishment because, which makes him eligible for bond. His attorney had requested bond for Smith earlier this month, but again, that's $500,000. In his request for a bond, there was a criticism at the state's case against his client by his lawyer, saying they lacked any evidence to directly connect him with the crime. So, okay, we'll see how this goes as to whether they have, and I don't know, as to whether they have a good case or not. Because, look, we all like to hear, oh, they got somebody. Oh, they got the guy. It's about time. Well, do they actually have a case after all this time? This is what we got to find out. And this is where the state really needs to be careful here about putting the case together. If they have the right guy, making sure they put a good case together. And I think another part of the problem is going to be, guy's 68 years old, and so if he is put away for life, it's not really going to be a long time. But, okay, people I know in Cheyenne just want to see resolution for this. Now, when I go, on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I'll be in Cheyenne again. This show keeps me driving around between the different radio stations that carry the show. And so I go down there again. And oftentimes as I pull into Cheyenne, between where the hotel I stay at and, I go right by that coin shop. I see it right there on the corner. And again, that's one of those stories that I've been hearing for a very long time, and people have been very curious about what exactly happened and who done it. And I've heard all sorts of theories on it too. But, okay, finally, after all of this time, they didn't let the case go. They think they have their man. Now, it's going to be a while. I don't know. I kind of look at the $500,000 bond thing, and I think, I don't know if they're actually going to be able to come up with that. So he's probably going to stay in where he is leading up to the trial. Now, the next question will be, how long until the trial? Because that could be a while. This could be a case that you and I are talking about for a few years before, you know how that usually works out, a few years before it finally does come to trial. And then the question still, which is burning in the back of everybody's mind, is, I know, does the state have the case and the evidence? Because the lawyer for the accused is saying, no, they don't. So we'll see how they put it together. It's going to be a while. It really is. All right, coming up with the extended forecast for day weather. Don Day is back from his adventure in Europe, chasing balloons in an international balloon race. Sort of an around the world in 80 days, but at high altitude kind of a thing. And he's bored now because the weather has gotten really nice, and there's, except for some subtle changes in temperature, not a whole lot going on out there.
Download the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. Listen anywhere and chat live with Glenn during the show on AM 1030 K2 Radio.
Time is 6:48. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to the icebox. Frank Gambino waiting by. Frank, I can't play the usual little markers that I play for you right now because that computer that was giving me problems before is now doing updates.
Oh, well, that'll be, you'll have it by next Thursday.
Sure, and you know what happens when it does updates? We then have to go back in and reset everything the way we had it before.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. Well, it especially gets to be a hard time for those who don't know the computer systems today. When we do audio recordings, we have a recorder program in there. And Windows likes to come in and say, yeah, but you need to have your settings this way. And it totally screws up everything, so it's not possible to record on it at all.
Yeah, but I go through that too. I don't understand. I don't understand technology. I'm speechless.
No, I think I understand the problem. So the people who invented the technology, as you know, these are the people that we picked on in high school, right?
Yeah.
Okay. This is how they get their revenge. This is it, Frank. They're getting their revenge. Okay, now, real quick, 2 stories for you from Florida. I'll let you pick one.
Okay.
Do you want the Python story?
No.
Or you want the employee who was given a great retirement present after 37 years?
I'll take the retirement.
Okay. So this is one of those that will just give you a warm fuzzy all day.
Okay.
Sheila Williams worked at Mac's Drive-Thru in Gainesville, Florida, a beautiful town, by the way.
Oh, I've been there, yeah.
Since 1987. 37 years. Now, working the drive-thru for 37 years, she's not going to make a whole lot of money. Mm-hmm. But she's now just too old to do this anymore. And so she's finally she has no choice but to retire. As a small business owner, said the owner of the company, I'm a big believer in helping her employees. So, all of the profits for one day are going to that employee.
Now we're talking.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, really, this is, it's not going to help her totally on retirement, but that could be a good chunk of money, especially when people in Gainesville hear where the money's going. Mm-hmm. I bet you that day is going to be a really busy day.
I hope that at least they give her free food for the rest of her life.
That would be good, too. I mean, sure. Why not? Okay.
I mean, she's been there for 37 years.
And why can't more bosses be like this, by the way? Yeah. I mean, at least...
No, the bosses aren't like that. No.
I said, here's what's going to happen. I don't ever intend to retire, but if I were to do that, the big bag of coffee that we have downstairs above the coffee pot,
you could have that as a going-away present.
It's leaving with me whether they want it or not, okay? All right, so go with sports.
All right, the Wyoming Cowboy football team back at it on Saturday night in Laramie, hosting the Air Force Academy. The Pokes are 0-4. So in addition to just bad football, the injuries for this team are really piling up. Running back Harrison Whaley has not played this season. He will play in just 4 games this year so he can use his redshirt year and then play a full year next season. Harrison has been rehabbing from a knee injury and was the team's leading rusher a year ago. Running back Dwayne McNeely is out for the year with a knee injury. The other side of the line of scrimmage, defensive end Devon Harris will not play in the Air Force game due to an elbow injury, and safety Wyatt Eckler has not 1 but 2 broken thumbs, so he won't play either, and there's a lot of walking wounded on that Cowboy roster. Now for Air Force, and they've been bad too. They have a record of 1-2. They lost to San Jose State and Baylor in their last 2 games, and in those 2 games combined, the Falcons scored 10 points. Game time at 6 p.m. in Laramie on Saturday. We'll have that for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KOWB in Laramie. For a high school football, the season cruises along on Friday night. Kelly Walsh at 3-1 will be at 4-0 Sheridan. 3-1 Cheyenne East will host 2-2 Natrona. Campbell County at 4-0 will be at 1-3 Laramie. 1-3 Cheyenne Central will be at 0-4 Thunder Basin, and Cheyenne South at 0-4 will host 2-2 Rock Springs. Our latest Wild Preps high school football poll is out. Sheridan remains number 1 in 4A, Campbell County 2, Cheyenne East 3, Natrona 4, and Kelly Walsh 5. Star Valley remains the top-rated team in 3A, followed by Cody, Riverton, Powell, and Buffalo. Mountain View now the number 1 team in 2A, with Bighorn second, Whirland third, Lovell fourth, and Cokeville fifth. In 1A 9-man, Lingo Fort Laramie still number 1, followed by Pine Bluffs, Southeast, Saratoga, and Lusk. And in 1A 6-man, Little Snake River 1, Encampment 2, Burlington 3, Matitsi 4, Midwest, and Riverside tied for 5th. Division I college volleyball, the Wyoming Cowgirls will be on the road to start Mountain West Conference play at Nevada on Thursday, and then Utah State on Saturday. Cowgirls won 2 out of 3 in their own tournament last week and sit at 8-3 on the year. And that's it in sports.
So, of course, since you rejected the Python story, that doesn't mean you're not going to get the Python story.
You might as well tell me now.
It's going to be later this morning. You've had some time. You've been warned.
Mm-hmm.
You've got some time to prepare yourself for the Florida Python story, which, by the way, since a hurricane's going to hit Florida, I would just say that means more pythons swimming up the middle of streets.
I would stay in the house.
I'd say get a house up on stilts.
Yeah,
stay inside.
Get your generator
if you're
working.
Knocking, it's either a python or an alligator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all they want is something to eat.
Yeah. Usually your pet, not you,
no.
but your pet. So toss it. All right, thank you. Coming up on some local business we got to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that. National, local update on the weather forecast. You and I get back into it again. Don't forget, 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. In the next hour at 7:45, Don Day will come on to give us the weather forecast, the extended forecast, the conversation we have every single morning. I just got to warn you in advance, he is bored because there's just nothing going on in the weather right now. So I'll find something to keep him busy during that segment, right? Let's wake up Wyoming. The time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Wednesday, and over the hump we go. If you missed the first hour of the program, then you missed the story about turning wind turbine blades into gummy bears. Yes, the treat that some people like to eat. But hang on, I will have that story again later on this morning. It's on the Wake Up Wyoming website right now.
Today's show is sponsored by Sweet and Spicy Toilet Paper. Because life is, well, life needs... Okay, I don't know why you need this.
I don't know why you even bring that up. Yeah, okay, a lot of stories to get to today. And, of course, phone number is 888-97-WOODS, 888-97-WOODS. Take a look at this headline here. Mayor suggests getting a reverse mortgage to pay your taxes. Sometimes I pause like that just to let you guys hear it and sink in a little bit. Here's the story. During a discussion, and you think we have property tax problems here in the state of Wyoming, by the way. Imagine having to deal with that. During a discussion on a proposal of allocating additional funds to a tax relief fund, much like we have the same problem here in Wyoming, a Portland mayor described the perfect storm in the city that led to recent reevaluation, causing a spike in property taxes. Quote, it's not that commercial is necessarily driving or doing poorly. It's that there isn't enough buying and selling commercial properties to warrant reviewing and raising those percentages. It's really difficult. Residential property sales outpacing commercial sales has what caused the problem in their property taxes and the increases they have there. The mayor expressed his empathy for residents dealing with the rising costs, noticing his own property taxes has steadily increased over the past 5 years. Well, the answer would be, Mr. Mayor, then what are you going to do about it? But all right, reading on. Quote, I'm really sad, and, my taxes are going up too, and have every year for the past 5 years. I don't have the jump that a lot of people saw because, well, in other words, his taxes have not been going up like a lot of other people. Then in addressing the financial pressures of taxes, the mayor made a suggestion that triggered an audible gasp in the room. That maybe, especially for elderly homeowners out there, you might want to think about taking out a reverse mortgage and to pay your property taxes. Yeah, I know, it's that bad. Now, think about, for most of you know what the reverse mortgage is. You've seen the commercials, but let's review anyway. The idea is you've been living in this house for who knows how many years, right? And you have finally paid your mortgage. Okay. You finally paid it all off. You own the house, or you've paid most of it off. You pretty much own the house. Okay. That'd be a good thing, right? But now you need some money. You've been retired for a while, and you expected to be dead by now. But you're living longer than the money that you set aside. So what do? Well, you get a reverse mortgage where somebody starts to pay you for your house. Now you're getting a monthly check-in. And what you hope is that you will die before they own your house. So a reverse mortgage, let me see, am I going to live? It's actually kind of morbid. Am I going to live another 20 years? Probably not. But this is it's a 30-year reverse mortgage. So, hey, they can just pay me. And in the end, they own my house, but I don't care because I'm dead. Now, I think I can play the audio from this mayor here. Let's see if it'll...
And it's really unfortunate. I'm really sad, and, my taxes are going up too, and have every year for the last 5 years. Seeing as our property values are so high, seniors may want to consider a reverse mortgage. It's I know it's an ugly word, but I'm just saying, I know it's horrible, but it's sort of a last resort.
Okay. No, that's not a last resort, Mr. Mayor. Do something about the taxes, if that's the case. It's the same situation we have here in the state of Wyoming, where people suddenly saw their taxes starting to go up. And we've had this conversation before. Our state legislators are still trying to work on the problem. Suddenly we had our taxes going up, and over a period of years they continue to go up, and it was hurting people. And it had to do with who's moving into the community and buying homes at ridiculously high prices, which offset the market, and all of a sudden. And to me, it just helped to illustrate the problem, bring out the problem that we've had all along. I've always been against, like many of you, property taxes in general, but also complained about the way we assess our property taxes. Property tax assessment is, frankly, just nuts the way they do it. I've even talked to county assessors from around Wyoming about the formula, the system they use to assess your property. And even some of the tax assessors look at it and go, well, it's kind of a convoluted process. They flat out admit that it's kind of a convoluted process. So why not simplify it? In fact, why have property taxes at all? There's better ways to do this than have a property tax. There's other ways. I do understand the city, the county, and so on need to get some money in order to do some things. And you know me, being more of the libertarian guy, what a tightwad I am with your money, really a tightwad with your money. So I would prefer that the government does as little as possible so they don't have to tax so much. Quit looking for new sources of revenue for all these new projects. Stop it. And tax as little as possible. So if property taxes start going up for some artificial, not even intentional, I mean, it's not like government came in and said, we're going to tax you more. No, the market shifted and it raised everybody's taxes, meaning we're doing this wrong. Let's find a better, less complicated way of doing it. So the fact, and did you hear, if you're able to hear the audio well, the audible gasp and groans in the room, well, you might have to take out a reverse mortgage to pay. I got a better idea. Fix your tax problem. Don't you dare stick these people with that kind of money. Having to get out a reverse mortgage. Let's go to Mills, Wyoming. Morning, Dave.
Morning, sir. How are you?
Good. What you got for me?
Okay, so I'm old enough that I remember when property taxes in Wyoming, whatever you bought your house for, that's what the property taxes were on it forever. And like you said, the California people came in and started buying up houses way back then even and paying a lot more for them. And that raised supposedly the price of our house. Now, this is just like what Harris or Kamala is trying to do to us is tax you on unrealized income.
Yeah.
If I bought my house for, say, $100,000, that's what it's worth. Mm-hmm. And until it's sold and I got to pay more taxes on it, that's what it should be assessed at. Otherwise, it's just theft.
Well, even the idea of a property tax, I've always liked the argument that, okay, so basically if you have a property tax, it's like you paying rent to the government on your property. I mean, if you, for some reason, were not able to pay or didn't pay the taxes for a period of time, then they could come and seize your property. So do you really own your property if you have to keep paying them this essentially like a rent? Why not tax people's property? If they need money, there's other ways we can do this.
Right. I agree with you.
All right. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. Let's Wake Up Wyoming.
Oh. He's talking to himself in a padded room, and you could be the voice in his head. Join the conversation on Wake Up Wyoming, 866-97-WOODS.
Time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. So I just got done playing some audio from Mayor South Portland is where that's from. And the mayor of South Portland, it's the same problem we have here in Wyoming for over the past few years. Property taxes started rising quite a bit, and it was artificial. It was people moving into the area, and you know, it skewed the property tax system, and suddenly everybody's property taxes are through the roof. And so the mayor said, well, I mean, you might have to look into some solutions like getting a reverse mortgage in order to pay this off for the elderly. And you could hear the audible gasp and groans in the room that he actually said that. So the answer would be, and I don't think the mayor of that town is thinking of it, is no, these people they shouldn't have to pay these taxes. And I would hear often if I said something like that, somebody would say, well, there's nothing you can do about it. There's loads you can do about it. Fix the system. But it's the law. Fix the law. So there's other ways to fix this problem other than making people get a reverse mortgage to pay for a tax that got out of control. And one of the ways is to change the way the tax system runs in the first place, which is why here in the state of Wyoming, one of the suggestions I'm still in favor of is switch the property tax over to a type of sales tax. And if you're thinking, oh, my God, that'd be outrageous, not really. It was a good suggestion that would have worked really well, but it was shot down. I think I would like to see that brought back to the state of Wyoming, and we can discuss it if it is brought back, but I've talked to a few people, legislators, about bringing the proposal back because it was a really good idea instead of having a property tax in Wyoming. And I think that would even make Wyoming more attractive to people who want to come here, especially because most of that sales tax is paid by tourists, although you would pay some sales tax, but most of it would be picked up, eaten up by the tourists out there. In the meantime, we're facing problems like...
Hi, my name's Nicholas. I run a little local newspaper that I happen to own in a small town. I have to do it pretty much all by myself. I do have some employees that do a wonderful job, but advertising, sales, PR, reporting, photography, bookwork, sure, I would love to hire some people to help me. But government taxes, rules, regulation, they all get in the way, make it impossible.
Hi, my name is Chris. I sell and install flooring. I'm proud to say I own my own company. I should be on the floor right now selling to my customers, but instead I'm back here in this little hole I call my office, trying to catch up on paperwork. I was actually able to make a lot more money when I could run my company. Thanks, big government. Because of you, my life sucks more and more every day.
All I want to do is replace my washing machine, but thanks to the EPA, my choices are limited to energy-efficient models that don't work worth a damn. Thanks, big government. My life didn't suck enough.
See, I was waiting to play this. It's been a while. Oh, here's another one, since we're talking taxes. Haven't played this one in a good long time.
Sales tax for the alarm clock, tax on the electric to run the alarm clock, toilet paper tax, tax on water, air freshener tax, lots of air freshener tax, sales tax on toothpaste and soap, and more water tax, tax on coffee and water again, sales tax on coffee cups, coffee maker, clothing tax, property tax, vehicle sales tax, gasoline tax, license and registration tax, soon to come, mileage tax, income tax, banking taxes, investment taxes, sales tax on the computer and accessories, internet access fees, soon to come, internet sales tax, food taxes. Yeah, we've covered this already. Office supply store to buy thumbtacks. Tax, phone taxes, there's a list of those. Medical insurance taxes, medicine taxes, medical insurance taxes, medicine taxes, medical device taxes, and now an Obamacare gym membership tax, bottled water tax, pet food tax, dog license tax, veterinary tax, death tax. Did we miss anything? If we didn't, don't worry, we'll get to it.
Government reminding you that we're just loaning you everything that you've earned because it's really ours, not yours or your kids or grandkids.
This is why every time I hear any kind of a politician, anybody really saying that we need more taxes in whatever way. No, you don't. You and government need to be doing a whole lot less. What if we taxpayers decided to, get revenge for, there's a lot of people that we pay taxes for. A lot of people out there that our taxes go to, and they should be making their own money. We shouldn't be paying their way. What if we as taxpayers decided instead to get revenge? Now, you might be thinking of revenge in a lot of different ways. It's not quite the way that I was thinking. Trust me.
Hello?
It's your roommate.
Yeah, funny. I don't have a roommate.
Hi.
Where are you going? You can't just barge in here.
Why not? We share this apartment.
We what?
Well, the government might have given you this place, but I'm the one paying for it.
You are? Yeah. How do you figure that?
Ma'am, allow me to introduce myself. I'm a taxpayer.
You are? Wow. I've heard of you people, but I don't think I've ever met one before.
Oh, no, ma'am. We're just a small percentage of the population, but we pay most of the taxes.
So you're the one paying for all this stuff?
Yes, ma'am. I pay for your house, your food,
electricity, my cell phone, my car, my gas.
That's why I'm here.
I still don't understand.
Well, you see, I pay so much in taxes, I can't afford any of this stuff myself. They've given it all to you. So I guess we're just gonna have to share.
Well, But
Look, where are the car keys?
Oh, no. I just bought that car.
No, ma'am. We bought that car, and I have to get to work so we can keep paying for all of this.
Oh, right. Over there on the counter.
See you at dinner. Oh, and since I'm paying for all this, I'm taking the master bedroom.
Oh.
Okay. I mean, why not? So, just a thought for some taxpayer revenge. Now, I am not 100% against all taxes. Even though I'm more of the libertarian guy, you would think but no, there's a few things, again, roads, bridges, police, fire, there's a few things that they take money for, which I do think government should be doing. You want to go ahead and build some roads and bridges, that's kind of an expensive, complicated process there, and I don't mind government taking care of a few things like that, but then just a few things. The more complicated it gets, the more they want to do, which is why I say that not only am I a tightwad with the taxpayers' money, but I don't really want anybody in government doing much of anything anyway. I've talked to you before about how they're not competent. They really don't know what they're doing, and they're always finding new projects they want to spend money on. And the answer to all of that is no. Take care of a few basic things, keep the taxes as low as possible, because more than anything, that money needs to be in the pockets of the people who earned it. And all sorts of other services and funsy little things that local government especially wants to take care of for us. My answer is, I understand. I would love to have some of those neat ideas in our community myself, but it's not the role of government to do it. If you're just joining me, this all started with a mayor of another town outside of Wyoming actually suggesting that in order to pay people keeping up with their property taxes, they might have to take out a reverse mortgage. Rather than, it never dawned on him, maybe just reduce the tax so people can afford to live in that town, which they've been living in for a very long time. Take out a reverse mortgage. You're not even going to consider maybe they shouldn't have to pay that much. Not even considering the idea that maybe their local government's doing too many things if they need that much money. Coming up on 7:30, local news coming your way after local news update on the weather forecast, and you and I get back into it again. 888-97 Woods the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. And when we get to 7:45, Don Day, that forecast we always talk about the weather for a few minutes. He's really got nothing to talk about, so I don't know what we're going to do for a couple of minutes on the air, but we'll figure it out. Let's Wake Up Wyoming.
Start your day the right way. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Join the conversation at 888-97-WOODS.
7:36 of time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Your Wyoming lawmakers, who, by the way, when they're not in session, they're still talking about things. They still have committee meetings. They still talk about things. And so they're right now discussing guns in school again, because that issue, while it did make some progress, has not entirely been solved. So the discussion, first off, about gun-free zones in the Capitol, that's still going back and forth. What's interesting is who's in charge of what part of the Capitol. When you walk into, by the way, you can, if you're ever in Cheyenne, if you're a Wyoming citizen, that's your building. So if you want to walk in and look around, go. You're allowed to. That's your building. All right. So just step in, have a good time. And it really is interesting. There's virtual tours you can take, all sorts of things. It really is worth it. Now, where can you carry a gun? Depends on what part of the building you're in. Yeah, because some parts of the building are run by the legislators, others are run by the government or the bureaucracy. It depends on where you are. And gets a little confusing. So there's been a discussion about being allowed to carry a gun, and that's still being resolved, some of which had been vetoed by the governor. They're discussing it. And the argument, of course, is in a Capitol, it can be very volatile in there. People would like to have good guys with guns around, not just a bad guy with a gun walk in. Now, University of Wyoming was told that it cannot make up its own rules on guns at the university, because even as we relaxed the gun-free zone idea here in Wyoming, so fewer and fewer places were restricted. That included the University of Wyoming. If a student wants to conceal carry on campus, he can. That's his right if he wants to go ahead and do that. Well, that was a big discussion at the University of Wyoming, so they ended up making their own rules. Then we ended up with a bit of a fight over, well, are they allowed to do that? It's a state-run university. Don't they have to comply with the state laws? Well, that looks like it's been settled, and UW has to allow students to conceal carry if they want. So the university is trying to figure out how to deal with it, is the last I was left on that one. What that means, I don't know. They're having discussions on it, but we'll find out what they think. Meantime, we're still having discussions about who's in charge of the schools. The way it's set up right now is there are some schools in Wyoming where you will find teachers and staff carrying weapons, and they don't have a gun-free zone sign on their school. They'll let anybody know who might read the sign that some staff members are armed and willing to take action. So if some shooter were to go into a school, they're going to be met with people shooting back, in other words. Those people have to be trained, though. It's not just that some teacher or administrator can, or even the janitor can just carry a gun. In order to do that, the school districts have decided, but you have to go through some training so you know what you're doing, which I think is reasonable, but all right. So far in Wyoming, we leave that decision up to each and every school district because in the state of Wyoming, we like having our school districts in charge of their local schools. Schools are to be run at the local level. So that leaves the question open then, so what do you do about the idea of allowing guns in school? Does the state decide or does the local level decide? That's still a debate. But so far, we're leaving it in the hands of the locals. So, for example, Campbell County schools, they have some in Gillette, some teachers and administrators that are carrying. There's a couple of other places that are. And then there's some places that have yet to address it and are not. Depends on where you are. If you live in a place where they do not allow teachers and administrators to carry guns in school for the protection of the kids, but you would like to see that happen, well, then you bring it up for discussion at your local school district. And that's something that gets decided at your local level. And the state of Wyoming can't do anything about that because it's your local school district. That's the way we're currently handling it. So just so you know, as we get toward the next legislative session, of course, Wyoming legislators are already talking about what bills they want to introduce. And this is one of the discussions that they're having. So we are going to have this conversation as we get into the first of the year, to be 2025 already, dear God. But yeah, we'll get into the first of the year, and that will be one of the discussions. Taxes will be another part of the discussion, as we were talking about earlier today, including more work that they want to do on property taxes, just some of the things that will be brought up. Also, some of the things that Governor Gordon vetoed or is working on that people don't like. And we're going to have a lot of changes because there's more members than ever before of the Wyoming Freedom Caucus. And while they're not the majority, they have more power than ever before and definitely can make some changes. So we'll see how this plays out. 7:42. I'll get a hold of Don Day now for your weather forecast. And Don is bored.
The best talk show host in the state, within his price range. Tune in to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods, weekdays at 6.
7:45 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to talk to Don Day from Day Weather. Don, yesterday I looked up into the sky and was amazed to see one little cloud. It looked lost, like it was looking for its mommy or something. I'm not sure, but that was it.
Yeah, I tell you, cloud spotting could be tricky to do over the next few days.
Yeah. Okay. Well, would that mean that the air is much drier right now in general?
Well, it is. It's dry not only closer to the ground, but it's dry through the higher reaches of the atmosphere. I mean, at times you're going to see some clouds move on through. Might have a few clouds build up over the mountains this weekend, but even clouds, hard to come by. The weather is so clear and so fair and so dominated by high pressure.
Right. Not a whole lot of wind in the area either. And I do notice the next few days the temperature is not hot, but higher.
Yeah, it's warmer than average. This is going to be really true today and tomorrow. We'll see temperatures pull back just a hair for Friday and the weekend, but they're going to be above average. Many areas are going to be getting well up into the 80s. So it's going to feel like summer during the day. It'll certainly feel like fall in the mornings.
So what are you doing?
But this is where you get 40 degrees or more between your highs and your lows.
So what are you doing to yourself for the next few days? Just napping in your office? What are you doing?
It is so nice. Yeah. It is so nice that you actually should do nothing but recreate.
That's
forget the honeydew list. Forget that project you've been. You just can't pass this
just
up.
Get outside. Oh, by the way, I did mention yesterday, the mountains are looking really great for fall colors. Oh, and I'm tracking a hurricane that's heading toward the Big Bend area of Florida. So at least there's something you get to do for a while, right?
Yeah, and when I look at that developing Hurricane Helene, and it's going to just be a real doozy of a hurricane coming together very rapidly, I go, living in a landlocked state, not a bad
Not so bad. I tell you something that I've said this before. When a hurricane heads up into that Big Bend area, that area, much of it is marshland. And then when you finally do get to actual land, it's typically about a foot above sea level and just very flat. And it's all preserved. I mean, it's open forest land. There's really not many people living there. That's the perfect place for tidal surge to hit. So the only thing people have to worry about is a lot of wind and rain moving up through Florida and into Georgia and the Carolinas. But the tidal surge isn't going to be a problem at all. Having grown up around that area, I can tell you that. All right, well, tell you what, go out and lay out in your backyard and take a nap.
Sounds good.
And we'll get a hold of you tomorrow. It's a dawn day with day weather. Well, I know the guy's I'm trying to help him out here because I know he's bored when the weather isn't doing anything. Off we go to talk to Frank Gambino, who is sitting there in the ice box. Okay, Frank, let's do the Python story.
All right, I'm ready. Okay, Florida man finds Python on
fishing.
Telephone pole.
Well, now this is actually, this could be fun. We might actually get some Wyomingites who want to go down to Florida to participate in this.
Oh, is that the Python hunt?
Yes, Florida Fish and Wildlife. The conservation just wrapped up this year's Python Challenge. They removed 195 Burmese pythons from the Everglades.
That's it? There's thousands in there.
Florida's population of invasive pythons, let me see. It's not clear how many live there. But with females, a female can lay 100 eggs at a time. Some estimate it could be up to 300,000 living in the Everglades. So you're right. If that's a correct number, then 195 ain't diddly squat.
No, they kind of did that in a day.
Yeah.
But if you've ever seen video of that, I mean, they just go out there. Yeah. They're just walking around, and they find them and drag them out, and it's.
There's even some video I'm watching here. There's a road called Alligator Alley. It goes from the West Coast to the East Coast to Florida around the Miami area. And there's this big python that's about the length of the damn road or the width of it. Be amazing if it was the length of the road. No, it's the width of the road, and it's just crossing the road there. So here's what I learned. I've been in the Everglades many times, and unlike other people, Frank, I am not getting in that water.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
not even on a sightseeing fan boat or whatever. No.
No, I've been on an airboat riding around the Everglades, and that's just loads of fun. And it is stunningly beautiful out there, and there's so much nature to see. It's amazing. But knowing what's living in, not just the big snakes, the little snakes, the spiders, the different kinds of fish. And the gators that are all over the place out there. And now we have the big snakes like the python. So, and then you got to worry about things like the different kinds of grasses. Don't get around sawgrass. It will
cut you.
Yes, that's why they call it sawgrass. So as beautiful as the Everglades are, the Everglades want to kill you. And it wants to kill you in many different ways, whatever amuses it at the time. So if you go there, stay in the damn boat.
And the Everglades are telling you to stay out of my way. Wyoming Cowboy football team back at it on Saturday night in Laramie. They'll be hosting the Air Force Academy. The folks are 0-4, so in addition to just playing bad football, the injuries for this team has really piled up. Running back Harrison Whaley has not played this year. He'll play in just 4 games this year so he can use his redshirt season and then play a full season next year. Harrison has been rehabbing from a knee injury and was the team's leading rusher a year ago. Running back Dwayne McNeely out for the year with a knee injury. On the other side of the line of scrimmage, defensive end Devon Harris will not play play on Saturday due to an elbow injury, and safety Wyatt Eckler has not one but two broken thumbs, so he won't play either. And plus, there's a lot of walking wounded on that Cowboy roster. For the Air Force, they have been pretty bad too, with a record of 1-2. They lost to San Jose State and Baylor in their last two games, and in those last two games, the Falcons have scored a combined 10 points. Game time at 6 p.m. in Laramie on Saturday. We'll have that for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KOWB in Laramie. High school football, the season cruising along on Friday night. Kelly Walsh at 3-1 will be at 4-0 Sheridan. 3-1 Cheyenne East will host 2-2 Natrona. Campbell County at 4-0 will be at 1-3 Laramie. 1-3 Cheyenne Central will be at 0-4 Thunder Basin. And Cheyenne South at 0-4 will host 2-2 Rock Springs. Our latest Wild Preps high school football poll is out. Sheridan remains number 1 in 4A. Campbell County 2. Cheyenne East 3. Natrona 4. And Kelly Walsh 5. Star Valley remains the top-rated team in 3A, followed by Cody, Riverton, Powell, and Buffalo. Mountain View the number 1 team in 2A now, with Bighorn 2nd, Worland 3rd, Lovell 4th, and Cokeville 5th. In 1A 9-man, Lingleport Laramie remains numero uno, followed by Pine Bluffs, Southeast, Saratoga, and Lusk. And in 1A 6-man, Little Snake River 1, Encampment 2, Burlington 3, Meeteetse 4, Midwest, and Riverside tie for 5th. In Division 1 college volleyball, the Wyoming Cowgirls will be on the road to start Mountain West Conference play at Nevada on Thursday and at Utah State on Saturday. Cowgirls won 2 out of 3 in their own tournament last week in Laramie, and will currently sit at 8-3 on the year. That's it in sports.
Okay, so I know it's just Wednesday here, but when do you start making your plans about where you're going?
Well, I have a rough idea of what I'm going to be doing now.
Okay.
There's certain intangibles that change, but I have a pretty good idea. I'm going to probably go to, for sure, Gillette on Saturday for the state high school tennis tournament.
Okay.
Then maybe Friday Riverton for football.
Okay.
That sounds good. I haven't figured that one.
You have been very fortunate with the weather.
Yeah, it's been great. Yeah.
So enjoy this while you can, because if it's this nice this year, Frank, next year at this time, I mean, it can't be this good.
Literally, what goes around comes around.
Oh yes. So this is the sucker hole.
Yeah.
That brings you in. Going, enjoy this is a great time of year, Frank. Next year,
I think I count September as a summer month.
Yes.
And I don't really, since we don't really have a spring.
Yes.
I enjoy September a lot. It's
winter,
great.
It's road construction. That's it.
Pretty much.
That's all Wyoming has.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business that we got to take care of. We're going to get a news time, national local update on weather forecast, open phones. For the Trump supporters out there, I got a real treat for you. Just some audio I have to play that you're just going to love, among other topics. And your phone calls in the 8 o'clock hour. 888-97 Woods, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. Wake up, Wyoming. Six of time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Wednesday, and over the hump we go.
Today's show is sponsored by Sweet and Spicy Toilet Paper, because life life needs. Okay, I don't know why you would need this.
It's a great gag gift, and by the way, since nobody wants to buy it, it's usually on sale, so you can get some. Even though you don't want it, I mean, it's cheap toilet paper, which you'll need the next time we have a really great crisis and everybody raises the stores of toilet paper. Anyway, the most dangerous time of the day for this program is right now. Open phones.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns. Liberty,
Hold on.
limited government.
Wrong one. My fault. There we go.
Warning. Wake Up Wyoming is about to enter daily open phones. This means that anyone will be allowed to call in and talk about anything. I mean, imagine if we actually allowed you on air to say anything you wanted. Scary, right? Well, we're just that brand of crazy. If you are offended by what other people think, then maybe you want to tune out right about now. Just saying. If you should choose to call, just remember, the more funny and interesting you are, the longer Glenn will keep you on the line. Obnoxious jerks will be hung up on. Dave, all right, strap in, and let's do this thing.
All right, 888-97, what's the phone number? That's 888-97-WOOD. Let's talk about what I'm talking about. Change the subject, fine by me. I'm going to be doing a lot of topic hopping, but first off, before I get into, for you Trump supporters out there, if you will, stand, all rise. Take off your MAGA hats and hold them over your heart. And you may be seated. You're welcome for that. I'm going to play you a little bit of audio just because, to me, this more than just illustrates, it shows. When you take a look at media coverage of any topic, I mean, pick a topic, it often is skewed and not well researched. There's a lot of problems that we can go through. Now, Megyn Kelly is, as you know, among other things, a lawyer. So here she is at a talk panel session on a program called All In. And someone who is questioning her on this panel discussion is going after Trump. And she's going to defend him with the facts.
I think Trump on appeal will win. There are so many holes in that case, so I don't think Trump will ever do one single day in jail.
So, Megyn, if we look at the 5 cases, 6 months from now or a year from now, let's assume all 5 of them go to trial. He's guilty of 3 so far.
Wait, what do you mean he's guilty of 3 so far?
Well, he's been convicted of 3, sorry.
What do you mean? No, he hasn't.
I love this. Eugene Carroll was guilty.
That was not a conviction. That was a civil case.
Okay, well, yes, so that's what I'm talking about. So that
okay, but there's a big difference.
It's still he was convicted. He was guilty of that. He got a settlement. In the Trump organization, they're guilty there.
That, again, was still civil, liable.
Yes, of course. But these are the cases we're talking about. And in the third one...
she's a lawyer, right?
Yeah, of course. And in the third one... I'm just talking about the 5 cases. Yes, some are civil, obviously, and some are not. Some are criminal. But if we look at all 5 cases...
You said 3 convictions. Now you're walking it back.
I'm not walking it back. There's 3 in which he was...
You should walk it back.
Okay,
I'm
guys,
so glad Megyn is here.
Of the 5, 3 of them he's either guilty or...
You got a bad result.
Yeah, got a bad result. There are 2 more. If he is found guilty of those 2 more, Megyn, and 5 of 5, he had a bad result. Way to frame it. Will you chalk all 5 up in your mind to 5 different jurisdictions, 5 different prosecutors, 5 different juries and or judges, all conspiring to get him?
100%.
Okay.
Yes.
That's all I wanted to hear your answer to. 5 of 5, 5 different jurisdictions. Yeah. You think it's all lawfare?
Eugene Carroll, they changed the law so that she could bring a civil lawsuit against him, and she did. New York went 87% for Joe Biden. That fix was in right from the start. The fraud trial that Letitia James brought against him has never been brought. There's no victims. The banks who were involved said, we didn't lose a penny. What are we doing here? We weren't damaged. Nobody was complaining except Tish James, who ran for office saying, I will get him. Then you have Alvin Bragg, who's a George Soros-funded prosecutor who doesn't like to prosecute any crime in New York City, where I lived for 17 years, except if your name is Donald Trump. Let's go down to Georgia, where Fani Willis and Nathan Wade couldn't keep their libidos in check long enough to actually bring this case against Donald Trump. It's a repeat of what was happening in January 6th up in the case with Judge Chutkan, who loathes Trump and has sentenced almost every J6 defendant to way more jail time than their counterparts would get. Those are falling apart because of presidential immunity, which was handed down by the Supreme Court, who said you cannot bring a criminal case against a sitting president for any official act. Those cases have been gutted. Also a Supreme Court ruling saying the same on January 6 defendants in general. And that leaves us with Florida and the documents. And Trump has torn that apart because Jack Smith wasn't properly appointed and isn't the right counsel. But there are other issues. They haven't even gotten to presidential immunity there. And so that one's going nowhere as well. And by the way, they're going to appeal it up to the 11th Circuit. She just threw it out. The 11th Circuit is conservative, and thank God so is the current Supreme Court. They're not going to tolerate that nonsense.
Let me ask you about...
Don't you just absolutely love that woman? I mean, I just... So they go on in a discussion like this, but it is, I think, really beyond just fascinating for me to listen to someone like Megyn Kelly, who is a very successful lawyer, go through the facts in this and tear this apart. Because you heard from the very beginning, well, he's already being convicted. No, those are civil cases. That is not a legal conviction on anything. So you can't have that he was convicted on those three things because those were civil cases. It's a completely different thing. But then, to go through and say, let's take a look at who's going, because we do have people who have said, as she pointed out, well, I'm going to get Trump, and they're doing anything they can to go after him. Anything they can. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter really what the law is, anything like that. So, okay. I have to give Megyn Kelly for that. And doesn't it just make her, just all the more, absolutely drop-dead gorgeous when she does something like that. So I really have to appreciate. Well, no, for me, it's a matter of someone who is just that smart and is not trying to play nice with anybody, but she's not being a jerk about it either. She's just flat out saying, look, what everything that you've just said is wrong. Now, here's one more. Long as I'm doing this, I came across this story. We have this every so often. Michael Cohen. Now, Michael Cohen was the former personal attorney for Donald Trump. But this guy is, I don't know why Trump ever worked with him in the first place. He was on MSNBC. Deadline is the name of the program. I say the name of the program because I know most of you listening to this program have never watched MSNBC or don't want to. But anyway, this guy, everything he said about Trump during the course of the interview was just absolutely nuts. Really absolutely nuts. I could play it for you, but you'll end up breaking the radio. And I like that you listen, so I don't. And it's MSNBC. There's no such thing really anymore as news television stations. They all do opinion. It's talk television, really. And MSNBC is extreme right-wing talk television. But anyway, Mr. Cohen says that if Trump wins, you've heard this before, he's leaving the country.
What do you think happens to you if he wins?
Well, I'm out of here. I'm already working on a foreign passport with a completely different name. I don't know how it's going to work as far as dealing with my wife and my children. I certainly don't want them moving to where I'm looking to go. But I don't think yourself, the president of MSNBC, General Milley, Liz Cheney, how many people has he turned around and said that these are people that I intend to go after if I have the ability to? And the worst is the Supreme Court's recent decision that gave him immunity, presidential immunity. Now he thinks it's not only is it I can do whatever I want, but I can't even be prosecuted. It's a get out of jail free card solely for the president.
So you're out of here. You'd leave the country.
I have no choice.
Unbelievable state of being. Michael Cohen.
I'll still be available to you, but by remote.
Let's see. Do you think he actually leaves the country? I don't think he does. And again, everything he just said there is absolutely nuts. But hey, I have a solution for that.
Are you a liberal who actually said out loud that you would leave the country if a Republican was elected president?
I'm serving my ticket to get out of here if he wins. Only because he probably have me deported anyway.
If any Republican gets nominated, I'm going to move to Canada with my entire family.
I'm sure you meant elected, not nominated. And you're sure Canada really wants you?
Now, I know some of you are saying that you'll move to Canada. Please don't.
Well, let it never be said that conservatives are not compassionate, because now a free service brought to you by Taxing the American People will help you move today with Move-A-Lib. With Move-A-Lib, we will arrive at your door the moment that the election is settled. Our fleet of Move-A-Lib professionals are anxious to get your sorry butts out of here immediately. Need more than one truck? Oh, for God's sakes, we'll take care of that for you. No problem. Can't afford a plane ticket? We'll put you on a boat. Just name a country and we'll provide all of the documentation to send you there as quickly as possible. Once you leave, you're not welcome back. And please don't let the screen door hit you on the way out. Call today. 1-800-MOVE-A-LIB. That's 1-800-MOVE-A-LIB. Reserve your moving van before November.
We certainly hope that anyone who might have been offended by that is already listening to another radio station and missed it. For the rest of you, that was cool, wasn't it? Glenn Woods. He talks to you, not at you. Be part of the show at 888-97-WOODS. This is Wake Up Wyoming on K2 Radio.
So Mommy M in Casper just called me making a mistake. MSNBC is right wing. Actually, yeah, they went so far to the right, to the left, they ended up on the right. No, obviously, MSNBC is far left wing, and right wing, of course, is Fox News. CNN's not even in the middle. They're off on the left, too. Anyway, but yeah, thanks for catching that. So, side note here. Some other people are noticing this, too. Right now, there's a lot of news out of Florida because there's a storm developing. It'll probably become a hurricane. And they keep saying, major hurricane. Category 2, which is, good-sized storm, but, it's one of the weaker storms. That's not major. It's a storm. It's a hurricane. It's a good-sized hurricane. But they go up to Category 5, so this is on the lower end of the scale. Plus, where it's going to hit in the Big Bend area is a huge area of marshland, which absorbs the tidal surge. So, people living on the West Coast do have to watch out for that. But, of course, the media is going to hype this beyond. It is important because it is a hurricane, but the media is going to hype this beyond. But here's what people are really getting a kick out of. Right now, the governor of Florida is talking to Floridians, and the guy standing next to him is, of course, doing sign language for the hearing impaired. Now, this guy's actually doing good, the sign language interpreter. The purpose of facial expressions, and just so you know, many years ago, I got an opportunity to learn sign language. If you ask me to do it now, I can't. Because after I learned, I was no expert by any means, but I could do it. But after I had learned it, there was nobody to talk to, so I forgot it. And so when I watch a sign language interpreter, I don't know what they're saying anymore. There was a time I could have told you. But the purpose of the expressions are like emojis. You want to let people who are watching sign language to understand, to know what the voice inflection is. Because really, voice inflection matters a lot to interpretation. Much like when you're on the internet or even just texting someone back and forth, and people don't know the inflection in your voice, so they misunderstand what you're saying and take offense at it, right? That's why the sign language interpreter uses facial expressions. Here's his tone of voice with his words. Some interpreters are very good at it. Some sign language interpreters use the proper emotions on their face to show the intent of the words coming from the speaker. Some sign language interpreters really overplay it. I know you've seen this. And their expressions are like, what are you doing? I'm listening to the guy speak, and what you're doing with your facial expressions has nothing to do with his tone of voice. I don't even understand what you're doing. Just stop it, for God's sakes. Someone's got to have a talk with these people. I mean, seriously, someone's really got to. Or maybe it's just, let's not talk with them because it's entertaining to watch. All right, let's go to Wheatland, Wyoming. Wheatland, you're up. Another Cowboy State Daily story. District voting machines continues to be a bit of a controversy in the state of Wyoming. There are some conservatives, I've had them on this program, in certain circles across Wyoming and America, that think hand-counting ballots is a better idea. So Wyoming Representative Jeremy Harrelson, Republican Wheatland, planning to bring legislation to the upcoming 2025 session that would clarify hand-counting ballots as legal in Wyoming. And he says this reality is people want to know that they can trust their election system. The current system has flaws. My argument is every system has flaws. No matter what you do, you got to pick the one that's the best, though. But every system is going to have a flaw. Story says over the past few years, and particularly this summer, there's been a growing movement for hand counting of ballots. Wyoming has opposed using electronic vote tabulations in some places. Hand counting demonstrations have been popping up around the states, including one held at the Wyoming Republican Party Central Committee earlier this month. Around that time, state party also sued Laramie County Clerk Deborah Lee for a technical mistake made in, remember the whole voting machine thing? It was a technical thing in testing the voting machine. And I remember on this program, those people in favor of hand counting ballots used that as an opportunity. In early October, hand counting demonstration will take place in Gillette with more than 1,000 mock ballots at Campbell County Clerk Lovelace told the Gillette News Record she's interested in seeing how it goes. Quote, I'm not saying I support the process. My view on this is because I know there's a lot of talk out there. So since there's a lot of talk, she'd like to see it happen. Our Secretary of State, Chuck Gray, is in favor of the idea of hand-counting ballots. Okay. Story says Gray has previously asked the Legislative Joint Corporations Election and Political Subdivisions Committee to examine post-election hand counts and hand audits of ballots. He also told Cowboy State Daily in June he'll soon announce an internal working group that will include members of the public to study hand audits of elections as well. So, okay. We'll see if, and there's the story goes on, it's a good story, goes on about some of the challenges, some of the problems, the good, the bad, and the ugly of the whole thing. So that's where we are right now on the hand counting. It's being discussed, and there are groups around the state of Wyoming who think it's a good idea. Again, I've had them on this program, and they're still pushing for the idea because their interest is really election integrity. They think it's a better way to go. All right. My answer to that is every system has its flaws. You're not going to find a perfect system. It's not going to happen. You will not find a perfect system. Okay? You're not going to just fix your problem because you decided to hand count. Is it a better way? Possibly, especially for a small state population-wise like Wyoming. So it should be looked into anyway. But you're never going to find a perfect solution for this, just so you know. 8:29 is the time. Coming up on some local news, after local news, update on the weather forecast. Then we have a nice long segment of open phones. So, 888-97 Woods the phone number. That's 888-97 WOODS. Wake Up Wyoming.
When you need to know quicker than the morning paper or the 5 o'clock news, you need Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Mornings on K2 Radio.
8:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. So we've solved the problem with wind turbine blades and how to get rid of them. Now, as I pointed out many times, wind turbine blades, and for that matter, solar panels and so on, they're not good for the environment to create or use, or they're not good for the environment to get rid of. So the idea that these things are clean, green, sustainable, affordable, reliable, nonsense. But they keep telling us that. Well, we had a problem for a while when it came to wind turbine blades, what to do with them, because they're made from fiberglass and other materials to make them really strong. They got to be very big, flexible, and really strong, especially when in a place like Wyoming to be able to put up with our winds out here, right? So what do you do with them when you're done? Now, just for those people who were thinking right away, well, they're burying them in Casper. Not anymore. That happened once, yeah, but they're not burying them in Wyoming anymore. But there are places where older wind turbine blades are being either stacked up high, not going anywhere, or being buried. So people are trying to figure out what to do with them. How do you get rid of these things? And they've tried chopping them up, all sorts of things. And because of what they're made out of, it's very difficult. Well, a guy, University of, pardon me while I find out. I want to say it was Minnesota. I'll find out as I get into Michigan State University. A guy an engineer, was hired to look at the problem and come up with something better, a different idea. So he started taking a look at what we can make wind turbine blades out of, especially when it comes to the resin we use, things like that. And he came up with a great idea. How would you like, when we're done with a wind turbine blade, to turn it into other things like, gummy bears? Yes, like the candy gummy bears that you would eat. Now, if you think I'm pulling your leg, look at the calendar. We're nowhere near April 1st. From the Guardian newspaper, the next generation of wind turbine blades could be recycled into gummy bears at the end of their service. And that doesn't mean piles and piles and piles of gummy bears. I mean, there's other things you can do with that. A lot of other things you can do with that. This is the same kind of stuff that goes into not just food products, but take a look at the tail lights on your car. Yeah, same materials go into making that. And you're thinking, but that was made into food? Well, there's nothing, when you eat a gummy bear, there's nothing nutritious about it, but there's nothing bad about it either. So go ahead and eat it. It'll just pass through you. You're fine. According to The Guardian, researchers at Michigan State University have created an odd composite resin for their blades using a combination of glasses, fibers, plant derivatives, polymers, synthetic things. And it's a goo that can be used in some food products as well. With this goo, those blades can be broken down to create many projects, including sweet treats. Yes, that includes gummy bears, among other things. So do you care to sample a wind turbine blade? That doesn't mean if you see a turbine blade just lying there on the side of the road after its useful life, you can just walk over and take a bite out of it. But the idea is, we can break it down and make other stuff out of it. You could even eat it. Some blades are half a football field in length. And again, they need to be able to stand up to things like Wyoming's wind. Well, researchers are exploring a resin and an alkaline solution produced, and it talks about potassium lactates and all these other words that you can't pronounce. Like, you ever look at the ingredients of some foods and you think, I can't even pronounce that? Yeah, that kind of stuff. Researchers are exploring the resin in an alkaline solution, which can be purified and made even to things like sports drinks. Yeah, there's a lot of different kinds of drinks that people love. There's two things I primarily drink: water and coffee. And actually, I did that in the wrong order. Coffee and then water. That's how my day starts. Here's a quote from the engineer working on this. We recovered food-grade potassium lactate. That just sounds gross right there. And used it to make gummy bear candies, which I ate, the engineer said. The alkalite digestion is, it talks about, again, the chemical names, which I can't even pronounce. And they're common in acrylic materials, again, used in windows, even car taillights. Yummy. Right? Doesn't that sound just great? So now I thought this was very important when this guy said this. A carbon atom, remember I keep telling you, CO2 is not a pollutant. It's basically airborne fertilizer. Carbon, there's no such thing as carbon pollution. Listen to what this guy says. A carbon atom derived from a plant like corn or grass is no different from a carbon atom that came from an organic fuel. He says fossil fuel, I'm correcting him. It's all part of the global carbon cycle. And we've shown that we can go from biomass in the field to a durable plastic material and then back to food stuff. The problem is now what to do with the rest of the turbine system and solar panel systems. So they solved the problem, maybe, with the wind turbine blades. We're all going to drink sports drinks and eat gummy bears, and we'll be pooping wind turbines. Basically, that's how this is going to work. So if they actually do solve that problem by going this route, we still have the problem of what to do with the rest of the wind turbines and solar panels. No, that is a very big problem because, as I've said before, toxic to create these things and toxic to dispose of, and bad for the planet while they're being used, especially bad for nature when they're being used. But, of course, people who call themselves environmentalists don't even want to hear about it. If they really cared about the environment, they'd want to hear about it. And as I keep saying, for those people who want to keep coal and oil, petroleum, in the ground, remember, you cannot make solar panels without petroleum and coal. Those are main ingredients in a solar panel. And you can't build wind turbines without using petroleum either. Then there's the rare earth minerals. That's where you really get into the toxic to create and toxic to dispose of. So, Smalls and Casper is agreeing. Yes, coffee, then water. Yeah, well, okay. Now let me explain how I start my day. I have a nice, good, strong cup of coffee to start my day. Later in the day, in the morning, later in my day, you're still asleep, I might have another one. But that's it. After that, I just drink water all day long. And that's just because that's what I like. And I like good, cold, clear, fresh water. And I just drink that the rest of the day. So for me, I'm not really interested in all of the sports drinks and stuff like that. I start with coffee, not just because, it's a good kickstart to wake up and so on. I like my morning coffee. That's really the reason why. Even if it didn't have the caffeine, which I would think, what's the point? But I just like the morning coffee that I have, and then that's it. After that, it's just the rest of the day. So remember, you're only as strong as your coffee. Oh, well, my God, then I'm the Hulk, if that's the case. No, when you hear, first off, I like a bold dark roast, and I brew it thick, and I don't add anything to it. No sweeteners, no creamers, nothing. So, yeah, I do like a really good, bold coffee. So that saying you're only as strong as your coffee, well, I'm the Hulk, if that's the case. Wake up, Wyoming.
Like a strong cup of coffee in the morning. Tasteless, but it'll get you through the day. Wake up, Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
And research to help you take control of the situation with your family and manage the disease together. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. Visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
.48 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to the icebox. Frank Gambino is waiting by. I'm still picking on Florida, Frank, just so you know.
They're gonna get soaked.
Well, yes, they are, yeah. But I can pick on my home state if I want to. I was sent this one, newspaper clipping. Florida couple arrested for selling tickets to heaven.
Well, I thought it was 2 for 1.
Yeah.
BOGO, baby.
I don't see. Well, okay, here's the story. A couple in Florida, Tito and Amanda.
Tito and Amanda.
So just right there, when they say names like that, you got to be suspicious.
Are they in Miami?
Arrested a few days ago for selling golden tickets to heaven to hundreds of people. They sold the tickets on the street for $99.99, which is a discount. Not $100, but $99.99. And let me see. Per ticket, buyers of the tickets were made from gold, they said, and that each ticket was reserved for a spot in heaven. Simply present the ticket at the pearly gates and you're in. Tito and Watts said to the police in a statement, I do not care what the police say. The tickets are solid gold. And the police are saying the problem is if somebody wants to buy a ticket to heaven, go ahead. But that's not gold.
So the tickets were not gold, like the precious metal gold.
Right.
Oh, see, now if he was selling precious metal gold, doesn't matter what it says.
Right.
I'll buy it for $100.
Right,
sure.
Yeah.
Right?
So I think that would have to, because my first thought when I read the story is, look, if somebody came to me and said, would you like to buy a ticket to heaven? $100, I'll give you a ticket to heaven. And I decided I thought that was a good deal. I would like to have it. That's my business. So why would the police arrest these people? Well, again, if you say it's a golden ticket made out of real gold.
It's fraud.
Yeah.
So he bought himself a ticket to jail.
Basically, yes. I think that's a good way. Okay, so it's sort of a reverse ticket.
Yeah.
They wind up in... Are they going to hell for this? I want to know.
Well, I think it's free, isn't it? Wyoming Cowboy football team will play Air Force on Saturday in Laramie, and the Pokes are looking for their first win of the year. They've lost all 4 of their games this year and haven't looked very good in any of them. The injuries for this team has really piled up, and that doesn't help at all. Running back Harrison Whaley has not played this year. He's only going to play in 4 games this year, so he could use his redshirt year and then play a full season next season. Harrison has been rehabbing from a knee injury and is the team's leading rusher a year ago. Running back Dwayne McNeely out for the year with a knee injury. On the other side of the line of scrimmage, defensive end Devon Harris will not play due to an elbow injury, and safety Wyatt Eckler has not one but two broken thumbs, so he won't play either. And there's a lot of walking wounded on that Cowboy roster. For the Air Force, they haven't been very good either. They're just 1-2, and they lost their last two games to San Jose State and Baylor. And in those two games, the Falcons scored a combined 10 points. Game time at 6 p.m. in Laramie on Saturday. We'll have that for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KOWB in Laramie. High school football, our latest Wild Press poll is out. Sheridan remains number 1 in 4A, Campbell County 2, Cheyennes 3, and Natrona 4, and Kelly Walsh comes in at number 5. Star Valley remains the top-rated team in 3A, followed by Cody, Riverton, Powell, and Buffalo. Mountain View now the number 1 team in 2A, Bighorn 2nd, Worland 3rd, Lovell 4th, and Cokeville 5th. In 1A 9-man, Lingo Fort Laramie number 1, followed by Pine Bluffs, Southeast, Saratoga, and Lusk. And in 1A 6-man, Little Snake River 1, Encampment 2, Burlington 3, Matiti 4, Midwest and Riverside are tied for 5th. In 4A high school football coming up on Friday, Kelly Walsh at 3-1 will be at 4-0 Sheridan. 3-1 Cheyenne East will host 2-2 Natrona. Campbell County at 4-0 will be at 1-3 Laramie. 1-3 Cheyenne Central will be at 0-4 Thunder Basin. And Cheyenne South at 0-4 will host Rock Springs, who comes in at 2-2. Division I college volleyball, the Wyoming Cowgirls on the road this week to start Mountain West Conference play. They'll be at Nevada on Thursday and Utah State on Saturday. Cowgirls won 2 of 3 in their own tournament last week. So far, they are 8-3 on the year. And that's it in sports.
Here's my strategy from now on with any UW team. If the team is losing, I don't want to see your game. I'm not going to spend money on you. But the team is winning, I'm going to go watch you.
Well, that's basically how all sports fans
are. Yeah. So we don't know if I should go to a basketball game yet.
Well, no, but I think you should go to the game on Saturday night. Just find a seat. Enjoy it, provide us some observations from somebody who normally doesn't go. There could be some nuggets of information that I had never realized.
Okay, here's the deal, Frank.
Fly the plane right into the Laramie Airport.
Here's the problem, Frank, is I will be watching not the game, but everything else going on.
That's fine.
My report is going to be about what the towel boy is doing.
Fine.
What the couple that's not watching the game but they're making out are really up to. I mean, I'm going to be watching all of that stuff. And if you ask me what happened with the game, I don't know because that's not of interest to me.
Go to the tailgating place.
That's right. Yeah.
Walk around the campus.
Find out
it's homecoming week, so you want to get there early for the homecoming.
Wait. Okay, that's prime tailgating time.
Yes, and they have a parade, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm more interested in what's going to be served. Okay, here's what I want to know. What's going to be served at the tailgating?
Whatever they're cooking.
Okay, that's fine. And Frank gets free samples.
If I beg.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business we got to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that national local update on the weather forecast. You and I get back into it again. Open phones, by the way, 888-97 Woods. Wake up, Wyoming. Six the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Wednesday, so over the hump we go.
Today's show is sponsored by Sweet and Spicy Toilet Paper. Because life is, you need...
Gross.
I mean, life needs...
No.
Okay, I don't know why you would need this.
2 reasons you would need it. 1, it's a gag gift. 2, it's going to be on sale, so you can buy it in bulk like you would, let's say, at the beginning of a pandemic.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
It is Open Phones. Cheyenne Hastings on the line with me right now. I hear you're running for school board.
I am.
And what town are you in?
I am here in Casper, so I'm running for school board for Natrona County.
Okay, see, I'm afraid you're going to have to move to Cheyenne.
I know. I lived there for 12 years.
Okay,
so,
all right. Just making sure that you understand.
But I had to escape and come up here to Casper.
So, okay, running for school board, good thing. What inspired that?
You know, just with the talk of the property taxes and how we can't have a reduction in property taxes, really, because it funds the schools, it increased my interest on, what are the schools doing here in Natrona County particularly. And there are a lot of rooms for improvement for our schools here in Natrona County.
Okay. Any background in education or background that would lead people to want to put you on a school board?
So I'm a retired military, so
Okay.
I feel that I've got great experience in dealing with the bureaucracy that is encompassing our school boards in our public school system.
Okay. So I hear you're having
I'm
a
familiar
meeting.
there. I'm a small business owner, so I've also had to deal with money, budgets.
Right. All right. So Cheyenne Hastings, I hear you're having a meet and greet. People can come talk to you in person. Where's that going to be?
Yeah, and it's Cheyenne, Houston.
I'm sorry. I keep saying H-A-S-T-I. Houston's, though. Okay.
Yeah, Houston, H-U-S-T-O-N.
H-U-S-T-O-N.
So our meet and greet is going to be this Saturday, September 28th, from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m., and it's going to be myself, and my co-hosts are going to be Albert Hall, Renee Redding, and Sarah Bieber. The location for this meet and greet is going to be at the Fort Casper Campground Lodge.
Okay. And let's give everybody the time and place. We got the place, but the time again?
It is going to be Saturday, the 28th, from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m.
Okay. Is there any other way people can get a hold of you if they can't show up to the event, or just maybe online or a website, something like that?
Yes, all four of us have our independent Facebook pages, and then we also have a group website, and it's called change4education.info.
Okay. Change the number 4 education dot what?
Info, I-N-F-O.
I-N-F-O. All right. Well, give me an update at some time about how the meet and greet went, and and any other information you got as we get closer toward election time would be appreciated.
We will definitely be back in contact with you.
All right. Thanks for calling in. I do appreciate it. Well, that's what we can do on open phones also. Let your local politicians know that you're running, because it's important that your local politicians know they got some competition this time around. And I like the idea, the more the better, of just your average citizen, especially on school boards, getting involved in something like that. So since it is open phones, back we go. 888-97 was the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. Off to Mills, Wyoming we go. Hey, Jude.
Hey, good morning. And Cheyenne and Beaver and Hall and Redding are who I'm voting for.
Okay.
They're all really smart women. They really care about our kids. So I'll fully endorse those guys. Anyway, you said earlier, because my electricity went out, so I had to listen to you on the phone this morning.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, you said that Casper isn't taking wind turbines anymore?
They were for a while. And then the last I heard is, no, they're not letting people bury more wind turbines here.
Did you talk to the manager over there or no?
This was a while ago, so I'd have to see if anything has changed since then. But there was the initial controversy and outcry, and then it went somewhere else.
Maybe. Maybe they're full or something.
Right.
But anyway, wind and solar. And I wanted to remind people out west of town that Kilt is going to allow that 2,000-acre solar farm, and they're going to need lots of water, which is going to affect our aquifer and our wells. and the meeting for planning and zoning is on 5:30 at the courthouse, second floor, where we all meet for county commissioners and everything like that. And we really need you guys out here to make the road trip in and tell them we don't want that out here. There's too many hazards that could happen. Look at all the wildfires we had this summer. Let something like that start burning, because they radiate some awful high heat, and we're done. I mean, they're going to burn us out or take our water out. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at.
But aren't you glad to know, though, that if somebody's working on a way of making wind turbine blades out of some new kind of resin, which could be transferred then into other things, including soft drinks and gummy bears, you, Judy, can literally poop wind turbines.
Oh, no. I can't believe what they're doing to our food supply.
Yeah, right.
I tell people all the time, get seeds, start growing your own, raise a couple cows and a pig, because what they're doing to our food supply, most of our food is not allowed. It's been banned in almost every other country in the world because of the toxicity in it, of chemicals and stuff, even your Fruit Loops,
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah, no.
I
all
think,
right, have a good day, guys.
You too. I appreciate it. Yeah, I do think most kids' breakfast cereals these days, absolute garbage. But I look forward to it. Look, I would love to have them make wind turbine blades out of this new epoxy goo thing, because then I can go ahead and eat gummy bears and poop wind turbine blades. I mean, who wouldn't want it?
On 60 Minutes once about buying tigers. Like, if you guys want a tiger, there's a guy you can go to. They asked him afterwards, they're like, hey, do you think it's too easy to buy a tiger in this country? And he was like, yeah, sadly it is. And that was my favorite part. I was like, that's why America's the best. I didn't even know you could buy tigers. I would have been embarrassed to ask. And then I watched this, and I was like, I don't really have to jump through hoops if I want to buy a tiger. It's not an all-day thing. It's an hour. I'll be right back with our tiger. And everybody wants to get rid of guns. Guns are the problem. But what makes me nervous is, you take away guns from people, those are the exact same people that will buy tigers. That's going to be a much bigger problem, all right? You're probably going to be like, look, here's your gun back. They're like, no, I'm good. My tiger is way better than my gun. My gun missed all the time. My tiger rarely misses. Even if he does miss, it's just for a second. It's never long. Like, if a guy dodges a tiger and he's like, your dumb tiger missed, it's like, well, he did not. He's right behind you now. And he is furious. You know that saying, guns don't kill people, people kill people? The new saying will just be do you know where your tiger's at by any chance? Do you have any idea? You don't know? All right. That's a big problem.
Download the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. Listen anywhere and chat live with Glenn during the show on AM 1030 K2 Radio.
.21's the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. You can do what the other callers did. Interrupt me, change the subject just fine. 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS.
So put on your respirator and let's fix that generator. And while we're out, we'll mend our fences too. See, I'm not afraid of dying. Just got reasons for surviving. I want one more day in the apocalypse with you.
One thing about the whole, not just Green New Deal, but what they're doing in Europe and so on, that bothers me about all of this end time nonsense is the amount of money and resources being spent and getting absolutely nowhere. Because even people who are in favor of net zero have to flat out admit they're not even close to achieving their net zero goals, despite trillions of dollars being spent, not even close to reaching your goals. So let's head over the pond to the UK. You might there was an article I read some time ago. There were 8 houses on Abbey Road in Fartown, which is, we can go into where that is. I don't think you care. They were given what they call heat pumps over there, air conditioners, instead of gas boilers, plus insulation, triple glazed windows, solar panels on the roof. These homes got expensive. They were all supposed to be eco-friendly and there to save the planet. So the Daily Mail reported that the opposition leaders in 2022 conference speech pushing on the scheme, which would cost about £60,000, I guess, per house, and save up to $350 or pounds on their money on annual energy bills and pay for itself. Now it turns out, at the rate it's going with all of the energy savings that are not happening, these 4 houses will pay for themselves in 172 years. Wow, gosh, so glad I got into that mortgage, huh? One critic said it would be monitoring the performance of the properties to inform future scammers and warn people not to get involved with this stuff. These people who are for stuff like this want to retrofit the nation's 1.6 million council-owned homes in a way that would cost, well, trillions of dollars in UK money. But again, what do you actually get out of that? Well, the cost per house, they don't actually have an accurate count to the people who want the homes, but, well, those critics have actually found what the actual cost is. And how much is the savings? Well, if you can go ahead and wait 172 years, then finally all of that so-called green energy stuff will pay for your house, according to what they said they would do. Now, next story. Solar development spreading across America, threatening farmers and local communities. Hey, Judy, you still listening? The story said, fueled by massive federal subsidies. Now, once again, this stuff would not exist if it wasn't being heavily subsidized, because it can't survive in the actual marketplace. Fueled by massive federal subsidies and the Inflation Reduction Act, which had nothing to do with reducing inflation. In fact, it caused more inflation. Solar developers are looking to the wide open spaces of rural lands like Wyoming to site their projects. This also is where much of America's farm and rangeland is located. Places like Wyoming, as well as communities that like to exist, well, with the character of their landscape, basically. Last week, President Biden said of the IRA, I'm proud to announce that my investment, money borrowed from future generations. And through investments, the most significant climate change laws ever. And by the way, he said that's $369 billion in this bill. Just the most recent bill with another $369 billion in it. Solar energy is among the most land-intensive forms of energy, the story says. Of all the different types of electrical generation per unit of electricity produced, ground-level solar installations take up more space than conventional coal. Now, we've talked about that before. As more land goes under solar projects, farmers and ranchers are becoming another voice in local opposition to this. As the supply of agrarian land diminishes, agriculture experts say the cost of buying farmland goes up, and that impacts food prices and creates a barrier for entry for new farmers. Now, some of these people, a lot of farmers that are out there will go ahead and take the money because they're struggling. They are really struggling to make it, as you know. And then here comes the government along with all sorts of subsidies, and they're desperate. They're about to lose everything, so they'll take the subsidies. But, of course, subsidies always run out at some point, especially with a country that's as broke as we are right now. One more. National Grid admits it doesn't have a clue how to reach net zero. Now, this is part of what I was talking about. Let's go across the pond again here to the UK. Last week, an energy secretary over there in the UK asked about developing how to achieve decarbonized power systems by 2030, which is their goal. And he flat out answered that they don't know. A letter was sent out to various politicians asking, how do you achieve this by this date? And they're flat out admitting in their answers that the politicians are and the bureaucrats. They not only don't have the money to achieve it by 2030, which was their goal, but the technology isn't there. They can't build it in time anyway. They've even set the goals of 2050. And if we just spend trillions of dollars they don't have the money or the resources or the time to achieve any of their goals, and yet the push goes on. So I'm hoping happens, at least in America anyway, in our next election, is that more reasonable heads prevail And even in Wyoming, and a lot of this just comes to a screeching halt. Not just with wind and solar, but with dumb ideas like carbon sequestration and so on. Enough already, and let's get back to the free market. And let the market decide what's the best form of energy to use for affordability, reliability. You want to keep it clean, that's good. I'm for clean energy too. CO2 is not a pollutant, so we don't have to worry about that. Coming up on some local business that we have to take care of after local business, which is news time. Then we get into a weather forecast, which is boring. Sorry, Chet Yoder says nuclear. Yeah. And answering small and Casper and coffee, too. But anyway, after that, we have a nice segment of open phones, which you can interrupt me if you want. 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. Let's Wake Up Wyoming.
Thursday. Got something to say? Call 888-97-WOODS or chat with Glenn on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app from K2 Radio.
9:36 the time, Wake Up Wyoming. Responded to some of the comments I'm getting here at the last segment. I-80 John says, good morning, Glenn. Every parking lot should have solar panels over spaces before anyone permits for farmland use. And here's the deal. If we had solar panels over parking spaces, then we would all get to park in the shade. That'd be nice, and it would stay out of the snow and all that kind of stuff. That might actually work out. Although now it gets me how often these ideas, really harebrained schemes come up to save the planet. And they have no idea what they're talking about. Really have absolutely no. Speaking of parking lots, some years ago, a guy came up with an idea. What if we make a parking lot a solar panel? One that you could drive on and park on. Since so many parking lots around the country spend a lot of time not completely covered by cars, open to the sun, why not take advantage of that? And so he made some kind of polymer that would be thick enough and be able to support the weight of cars. And then so you could actually see through the parking lot down to the solar panels. So when there wasn't a car parked there, the parking lot was just collecting light. He thought this was a great idea. And money was spent on the experiment, and I'm looking at this going, you've got to be kidding me, don't you? You don't see where this is going. I can tell you right now this is not going to work. And it didn't for the exact reasons that I was thinking. You ever have to change a tire? Get a flat tire, you have to change it. Notice how filthy your hands get? That's because roads are filthy. For a lot of reasons, roads are filthy. Not just one reason. For a lot of reasons, roads are filthy. What do you think parking lots are going to look like? So if you try to make this clear polymer and then you can see through down to the solar panels, just let a few cars park there a few times. Now the parking lot's so filthy, the solar panels can't get any light, even when cars are not parked there. And that's exactly what happened, and the whole experiment failed. And how do these so-called smart guys not know this? All right. I do want – look, there's a lot – I can think of a lot of other plans that were concocted over the years, engineering plans that didn't work. But here's why I like the free market. In the free market, if somebody comes up with a harebrained scheme like that, they got to go out and get investors. They got to try to raise the money for the scheme. And if it's a bad idea, in most cases, it'll never happen because it was a bad idea. And people are not going to spend money on bad ideas. Your government will, but private citizens who are investing their own money won't. But even then, there are people who come up with bad ideas, and they do get investors. It happens occasionally. And if the idea doesn't work out, then it just dies on the vine, goes away. And you never hear about it again. It failed. We're done. But when government comes up with a lousy idea, they dump a bunch of money into it, And when it doesn't work, they dump more money into it. And it doesn't work again, they dump more money into it. And they just won't let it go. Which, if anything, they should. Earlier this week, I told you that the last full-size Kmart retail store is closing. There's not much left for Kmarts anywhere on the planet. They're pretty much done. Now, Kmart used to be a great store, but they were outclassed by other retail stores, like Walmart, as an example. They were outclassed by other stores who did a better job. And so let them go. If Kmart were a government-subsidized program, it didn't matter how bad Kmart got, the government would keep dumping money into it and never let it die, even though nobody wants to shop there anymore. So you let it go in the private sector, but in the government sector, no, you just keep dumping good money after bad money. I never understand. In fact, let me hang on. There's a lot of ways I can continue to explain this. Let me see if I can call it up real quick. Aha. Yes. So here's how government works.
With all economic factors indicating the U.S. is heading for a prolonged recession, some experts are suggesting that the government should stop dumping all of our money into an enormous hole. Is it time to close the national money hole?
That kind of talk is alarmist and irresponsible.
America needs the money hole.
Right. Driving truckloads of money out into the New Mexico desert and dumping it into a massive pit is one of America's greatest traditions.
It's a national treasure.
Now, look, no reasonable person is advocating that we are going to stop destroying money. But the American people earn that money. They have the right to decide how it should be destroyed.
So you are in favor of personal money holes?
Yes, people should be able to dump money into a hole in their backyard or flush it down the toilet. Let the free market decide the most efficient way of destroying money.
My father worked 2 jobs so he'd have money to put in the money hole, and he never complained.
Now, you can't depend on private money holes to destroy that money.
Duncan's right. I mean, some of this money could blow away. Yes. Some of it may not be correctly buried. I mean, there's too many variables.
That's why the government pours gasoline into the money hole and lights it on fire to make sure all the money is destroyed.
I love the money fire.
It's just like they say, you have to throw money in a hole and set it on fire to make money.
Okay, but find the cheapest way to destroy that money, like shredding it up and feeding it to hogs.
Tell that to the digger who's worked the graveyard shift for 20 years. Digging the hole is all he knows.
The sheer number of shovelers that it takes to maintain that hole.
But if we're talking about closing holes, I mean, what about the soldier hole? How about the energy hole? I mean, I can't believe that closing the money hole is even on the table.
Why are you pushing this pro-hole agenda? Is the money hole lobby paying you?
I resent that accusation. I do not take money from special interests, and if I did, I would throw it right in the hole because I am a patriot.
If you love America, you throw money in its hole.
Well, that image is going to stick with you all day. Now, Glenn Woods fits in your pocket with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030, K2 Radio.
9:48 the time we Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to the icebox ring. Gambino is waiting by. Okay, Frank, so I want you to imagine you spend a lot of time and money making sure you have enough cash on hand, investments, to send your kid to a good college, right? Yeah, I know. We'll go with it for a moment. So all that money is set aside. A kid's going to go to become an engineer.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah. Well, your son, the engineer, can take care of you in your old age if he's making enough money.
Oh, yeah.
So then he comes back with his first invention. Now, I'm not going to try to describe to you how bizarre this looks. I'll just say, okay, remember the television commercial, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop?
Yeah. Is he the owl?
Well, what he did was he invented a machine that, it's a robot machine, basically, very, very basic, that mimics a human tongue licking with the moisture there, too, of a tongue, licking a Tootsie Pop.
Okay, this is more redneck engineering here?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. But he found it takes 364 licks to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop. So that mom and dad must be proud.
Well, that's that's well invested money into your kids' education, right?
But now I look at this and I think he's actually come across something here that's pretty good. Okay, so if it takes 364 licks to get to the center, so you spend 1 lick a day for a year. On the last day, 365, you now have the center of the Tootsie Pop to chew on.
I'm not waiting a year for that.
Okay, but I'm just saying the math is there.
Yeah, the math is there.
Yeah, okay.
The reasons and the logic is not.
No, well, of course, look, this is America. I mean, we do some really great things. I mean, we go to the moon for Pete's sakes.
Yeah.
We have robots on Mars.
Yeah.
Come on.
We can get a robot to lick lollipops.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So we're also going to make all sorts of really useless, stupid inventions. Now, one of my favorite inventions of all time. I got to get another one because the one I had broke. It's a box, and you push the button to start it. And this little finger-looking thing comes out of the door at the top of the box and heads over to the switch, which I use to turn it on, and turns it off.
And then goes back in the box.
Yeah, so the whole purpose of the machine is to turn itself off.
Is it like Thing from the Addams Family?
You can get one like that, too. Yes, you can if you want a hand. But imagine someone thought to design a machine that every time you turn it on, the purpose of the machine is to turn itself off.
All righty, then. High school football, the season cruises along on the 4A ranks on Friday. Kelly Walsh at 3-1 will be at 4-0 Sheridan, 3-1 Cheyenne East hosting 2-2 Natrona. Campbell County, they're 4-0 and they'll be at 1-3 Laramie. Cheyenne Central at 1-3 will be at 0-4 Thunder Basin, and Cheyenne South at 0-4 will host 2-2 Rock Springs. Our latest Wild Preps high school football poll is out. Sheridan remains number 1 in 4A, Campbell County second, Cheyenne East third, Natrona fourth, and Kelly Walsh is fifth. Star Valley remains the top-rated team in 3A. Followed by Cody, Riverton, Powell, and Buffalo. Mountain View is now the number 1 team in 2A. Bighorn second, Worland third, Level fourth, and Cokeville fifth. In 1A 9-man, Lingo Fort Laramie remains number 1, followed by Pine Bluffs, Southeast, Saratoga, and Lusk. And in 1A 6-man, Little Snake River 1, Encampment 2, Burlington 3, Meeteetse 4, Midwest and Riverside tied for fifth. Wyoming Cowboy football team back at it on Saturday night in Laramie, hosting the Air Force Academy in the Mountain West Conference opener for both teams. Folks are 0-4, so in addition to bad football, the injuries for this team are starting to piling up, and that's not a good sign at all. Running back Harrison Whaley, who has not played this season, will play in just 4 games this year, so he can use his redshirt year and then play a full season next season. Harrison has been rehabbing from a knee injury and is the team's leading rusher from a year ago. Running back Dwayne McNeely is out for the year with a knee injury. On the other side of the line of scrimmage, defensive end Devon Harris will not play this week against the Air Force with an elbow injury, and safety Wyatt Eckler has not 1 but 2 broken thumbs, so he won't play either. And there's a lot of walking wounded on that Cowboy squad. For the Air Force, well, they haven't been very good either. They have a record of 1-2 and lost to San Jose State and Baylor in the last 2 games. And in those last 2 games, the Falcons scored a combined 10 points. Game time at 6 p.m. in Laramie on Saturday. We'll have that for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KOWB in Laramie. Division I college volleyball, the Wyoming Cowgirls will start Mountain West Conference play this week on the road at Nevada on Thursday, and then in Logan to meet Utah State on Saturday. Cowgirls won 2 of 3 in their own tournament last week and sit at 8-3 on the year, and that's it in sports.
I don't know how you keep it up with all. I
just need to invent something If a guy can invent something to lick lollipops, why can't I invent something to keep track of all the stuff that I have to keep track of?
It's called a computer. It's on your desk. You also have your cell phone.
I didn't invent either of those.
All of those were invented for you, Frank.
What about the old folders
folders?
Not on the computer. I mean, folders that were in the filing
But remember
cabinets.
how much space they took up?
Much.
Yes. Okay. So now instead, since we have all that extra space in your office, we've decided to pile it full of all sorts of junk. Basically, Frank works out of a closet.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. So, we got rid of the filing cabinets and then filled it up with all the other stuff that we use around the office.
Actually, there are still 3 filing cabinets in
Really?
there. Yes.
Is there anything in them?
Well, yeah. There's value, but I know where the keys are.
Okay, because the filing cabinet in Miss Mary's office is filled with food.
Oh, great.
Really? Thank you, Frank. No, seriously, there's a big, tall filing cabinet in her office, and it's not her food. It's somebody else's. But it's just filled with food. So there's a use for filing cabinets. I have a filing cabinet behind me, actually, in the studio. And it's filled with food, so wake up my own.